This is AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling. I am Aubrey Edwards, here with my wonderful, lovely co-host, Tony Schiavone.
Hey, Aubrey.
Hi, Tony.
How are you?
It's good to see you in Jacksonville.
It's good to be in Jacksonville, as always.
It's a little cold in here.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot, how we, when we have the weeks where we're not here, how we long for being here.
It's nice to see you in your little man cave on the podcast.
Thank you.
But there's just something great about being here and all of the excitement. And speaking of excitement, this is a really, really fun week because we've got a major show after Dynamite last night. This Saturday, we've got AEW All Out on at 8 o'clock. Pay-per-view, BR Live, the Fight TV apps, and of course, because it's pay-per-view, we have to talk to boss man, Mr. Tony Khan.
Hey, it's great to see you.
Hey,
Tony. Thanks for having me back on the show. It's great to be back on the show with you guys, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about All Out, which is one of our biggest events of the year, and that's why it would only be fitting that we run down the card extensively. Let's do it.
Before we get into the card, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the newest thing that's changed recently, because we've been in Jacksonville for quite a while, but we've only recently started having fans back. And this is our second pay-per-view in a pandemic, but our first with fans since Revolution in February. How did that all come about?
It's great. Thank you for asking. We've been slowly taking steps towards it for a while now. We've been encouraging fans to watch on television, and while we've been trying to get ready for a return in a very first step kind of a way. What we've done is not anything close to the old experience in arenas, but it's also a great experience for the small number of fans who are able to come, and it's completely safe. What we're doing is in an outdoor space. We're operating at 10% capacity for our first event, and we're aiming to get up to 15% capacity going forward. And in an outdoor space operating at that kind of capacity, we're looking at crowds of about, in an amphitheater set up for over 5,000, we're looking at maybe 700 to 800 max. Our first show we did 500 people, and it was really nice. It was a great atmosphere, and it was the biggest crowd anybody's seen for a live wrestling show in a long time. And I think for All Out, we're expecting slightly more, and I think we're going to hit on 12 to 13% capacity with paid fans, which is really a step in the right direction. And frankly, compared to what we were at, it feels like 700 fans could feel like 7,000.
Sure,
it really does.
Yeah, it felt when we had our first live crowd, you could tell that the fans were ready to come back and cheer wrestling live. In a live situation, because they were really into it, weren't they?
It was so great to have those fans back at that energy level, and as soon as we came out, you could tell it was a hot crowd when we went out and welcomed them there for Dynamite, and then immediately when they heard Judas, when they heard Chris Jericho coming out and they sang the song, you could tell it was going to be a great night, and the look on Chris's face was really special because Chris has been in the wrestling business now. We're very close to Chris's 30-year anniversary in the wrestling business.
Wow.
Chris's first match in the wrestling business was actually 29 years to the day of the debut of AEW Dynamite on TNT.
Whoa!
And so our 30-year anniversary, Chris's 30-year anniversary was our 1-year anniversary coming up.
Wow!
And so that's pretty cool. So Chris going on 30 years in the business, and said that was one of the greatest moments in his storybook career.
That's so wonderful.
Was to the return of the fans, because I think nobody's ever been through anything like this pandemic, and it's been hard for a lot of people. And obviously, there's nothing that can compare to the tragedy that this pandemic has leveled on people, but for people to go back to kind of some sense of normalcy, I've compared this to like the drive-in movie theater.
Sure.
When the cinemas closed and the indoor theater experience wasn't there to watch movies anymore like the way we'd all watched them for years, it became like a safe way to go see the movies with your family or friends again in a small social group, whoever you're living with. And these circumstances when people were social distancing, we saw the drive-in movie theater make a comeback, and now more and more it's becoming a viable business. And sure, it's not nearly the size and scope of the original business, and it was great when, again, like you said, with Revolution and the Dynamites immediately after, we're doing crowds of thousands of people. We'd operated a lot of sellouts. And in 2019, we were the #1 live event wrestling company per event in the business. Now, frankly, WWE ran a lot more shows than we did.
Right.
But nobody, including WWE, averaged more fans per show than AEW in 2019 across the shows we ran, starting with Double or Nothing through the summer with Fighter and Fight for the Fallen into All Out, and then all of our Dynamite shows going forward when we started running every week. And we ran every week through Christmas. And we led the world in attendance in wrestling last year, and now this year that's not something that really at the same scope. It's not the same kind of business model, but we can still safely put fans in and have a great experience. It's a totally different experience. And for us to sell out All Out in like a minute, it's not really the same thing when you're versus when you've been selling out, the MGM Grand in less than a half hour and doing over 10,000 people compared to when, selling 700 tickets maybe in a minute or two. Right. That's still pretty cool, but the way I'm proudest not of the number, but I'm proud of the way we did it, because we've really cracked down to make sure that this is totally safe, that everybody in these spaces, it's like a group of people that's coming together, they're already together in a social circle, families and friends and people that would be together, and we're trying to crack down on people putting strangers from separate circles inside these little bubbles we're trying to set up, because all the seating areas are separate from the other seating areas. So our first show, we had a great response, and I was so happy. In addition to the fact we got through the show and everybody was complying with what we were asked for the masks. Sure. The mayor of Jacksonville, Raph, you guys know Raph. Raph is our live events director and in charge of these events, and he was up there with our security team, and Raph actually went up to the mayor of Jacksonville not knowing, and the mayor, after everyone had their their water or coffee or had their bite of food, like they were asking people, once you're done with that eating and drinking, can you please put your mask back on? So he went up and asked the mayor to put his mask back on. The mayor was, of course. And then somebody was like, that's the mayor, sir. He's like, of course. But the mayor was the nicest guy about it, and so Mayor Curry put his mask back on, I heard. And so thanks to both sides on that. But I heard that just shows you that every fan up there, literally, they said everybody they asked was really nice about it, and everyone was just so happy to be back together watching the shows at a distance from each other, but still, you could still hear it and feel it. And it was just, like I said, it's like the drive-in movie where you can go see the new things, but enjoy the experience. And so that's for All Out. All Out's going to be the first wrestling pay-per-view since Revolution, which was, I think, to me, one of the greatest things we've ever done. Double or Nothing was a tribute to ingenuity, I think. The ingenuity of Double or Nothing, we were literally just coming out. We had just implemented this new testing plan. We were just able to put together the roster really for the first time. And it was the first time the whole group had been back together, and we were able to start testing and bring people in and doing shows again, because the company had been, we had shut down in early April, and we taped a lot of shows and we ran them, and then we came back with a major presence and did our biggest pay-per-view of all time. Did a lot of great stuff, and obviously Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee was one of the best title matches we've had. Mike Tyson and the introduction of the TNT title, and Cody beating Lance Archer, and then of course the Stadium Stampede, and
never forget that one.
No.
Ever.
And again, talk about ingenuity. I think Stadium Stampede is something that was born out of the pandemic and would not have happened otherwise.
Right.
No.
And because we haven't been able to still deliver the blood and guts match, we really wanted to give to the fans, and will still like to give to the fans
one day,
however and whenever we were able to return. But we had this great crowd in Newark for this blood and guts match. I just hope that we can really look back at Double or Nothing and think about how special it was, but we still weren't able to really have fans and sell tickets yet, and it wasn't just a safe thing that we were set up to do, but we've slowly, with our friends and family, a few people, we had started after we'd been testing for a while, and we realized that Daly's Place is outdoors and there's enough seating space and capacity to put people in the upper balconies, that we could do this again. So for All Out, it's going to be that experience. If you've been saying, hey, I'm worried about watching wrestling because I just don't want to watch it without the crowds, I'm sorry, but people might not be running an arena packed shoulder to shoulder with 10, 20,000 people anytime soon. And this is going to be a great show, and there's probably going to be 700 people, maybe 750. I think there would be up to 15% capacity, something like that. And I think it's going to be, like I said, I'm not going to go any over 15. I think 10 to 15%. We can still, based on the seating plan, we can keep all the groups in the upper bowl and the middle bowl apart, and the lower bowl we can keep clear for just our staff and people, so that there's nobody down there going near the wrestlers. And that's key, because all of us, the three of us and everybody here, and Robert here filming the camera, we can all say that we've been tested and we feel safe in our bubble, because all the fans and coming in, all of them are staying in their social circles out there, but they're also not really being exposed to us. So anyway, I would be remiss if I did not address the actual All Out card, but I'm glad we've talked about the live event experience and being back to it. Thanks for bringing it up, Aubrey.
Well, yeah, Aubrey, and I love your hand gestures too. No, but before we get into the All Out card, I wanted to touch on one more thing. We don't know when normalcy will be back, and we're all kind of swimming like when is it going to happen. But it's really a tribute to your staff, and I'm talking about Chris Harrington, Mega Pereg, you mentioned Raphael Morphy. Everybody coming together and coming up with a very sound plan. I mean, you've put together a very good staff to do this.
We have a great group. Those are all the people you named, and I'm glad you thank for naming.
And Bernie, I didn't mention Bernie.
Sure, and there's a countless other people on the staff you can name, but thank you for bringing up Bernie and Raph again, and of course Mega and Chris and a bunch of other people on the team at the Jaguars and here a lot of people in Jacksonville, Jackie and Ryan, and a bunch of people on the staff, and Cassie and Margaret and everybody, because really the team came together and we've been able to put enough people on site and security where we're not trying to, be hard on people about wearing the mask, but it's just for their own safety, and also by keeping everybody from going in out of their pods and interacting. Because I've watched some of these independent wrestling shows people have tried to do in the pandemic, and I think they're well intentioned by setting up outside, but I'm trying to run the safest show as possible, and I don't think anybody's doing anything like what AEW is doing in terms of security presence. Obviously, in terms of testing everybody, in terms of crew and wrestlers, nobody that's running shows with fans is doing that. And then the shows with fans I've seen, when people get up and do the crazy high spots and fight around, people chase them and the crowd starts to cluster together, and that doesn't happen on our shows. And that again is a tribute to the big security presence and the team and the organization, and we have a great group, and it was frankly in Jacksonville we have a great support for it, and I'm very fortunate that Jacksonville is also doing things right and trending in a positive direction there too. Right.
Well, we've got the All Out card we want to talk about, and of course that event is coming up this coming Saturday. That's September 5th, and there will be a buy-in prior to that.
Yes,
it's going to be great. And the main buy-in exciting announcement is that we're going to have our first ever tooth and nail match in AEW. The tooth and nail match between Britt Baker and Big Swole.
I love that name.
Dr. Britt Baker, the tooth and nail match is pun definitely intended. They will fight tooth and nail, and they will fight. It will be Falls Count Anywhere, and they will be fighting in and around a dentist's office. I understand Britt's office, in fact, will be set up, and I think it's going to be a real house of horrors for Big Swole, but she knows what she signed up for. It'll be a great match.
This is fantastic. Ultimate Wrestling.
Be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited, and it'll be a great return to the ring for Britt. I think we've seen her claiming she was going to participate in matches, but I don't think that handicap match she really did anything, and I think now it's time
we're not going to count that.
Finally to see Britt back in the action. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Britt and Swole both have great personalities, don't they? And they come across in the ring, don't they?
Yeah, you are obviously the foremost expert on Britt's personality.
I'm Britt's guy, yes.
Well, and then of course last night it came across when again you were getting a up close look at Swole's personality when Britt set up that assault on her. Yeah. This pizza delivery, it was a very original idea. Britt's a very clever woman. She's a brilliant doctor and a great tactician, and I don't know if she's 100% yet with her leg, but I think she's based on where the match is happening and the rules and everything, and knowing Britt, that definitely gives her an advantage with the match being in her office.
Britt having the advantage. Sounds like a conspiracy.
I just want to clear things up. That even though that Britt and I have been friends and I have done a lot of her interviews, I am not in cahoots with her in any way, anything she does. Don't blame me for anything that Britt has done.
Well, I won't blame you for anything she's done. And really in this match, nobody's blaming anything because it's no rules, there's no DQ, and no countouts, false count anywhere, and it's only pins or submissions. So we'll definitely see a winner in the tooth and nail match, and we all know who you're rooting for, Tony.
Well, yes, I certainly like Big Swole. Okay, we're talking with Tony Khan, and we're here on AEW Unrestricted, and coming up we'll talk about the card for All Out.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to talk about is State Farm Insurance. And I say I like to talk about that because I've been a State Farm customer, a member, if you will, since 1981, since the year that I was married. State Farm has surprisingly great rates on both auto and homeowners.
Tony, you've been a member of State Farm since before I was born.
There you go.
That means that they must have like great customer service. They've got agents available everywhere. Like, to be a member of a company for that long, you have to be really, really happy with their policies.
I'm happy with their policies, and now I'm happier, Aubrey, with their easy-to-use technology, because back then you would have to have the insurance card in your wallet. It was a paper insurance card or like a cardboard insurance card. Now you have it on your phone. They have a great app, and you have your insurance card right on your smartphone. So the technology that is advanced in the world has also advanced insurance, thanks to our people at State Farm.
So you can manage your coverage, pay your bill, file a claim, all just from your phone. Some you already carry around with you. Who needs cardboard cards anymore? Jeez.
No boy. A great price with even greater service. So Aubrey, as I always say, when you want the real deal,
like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. You say that all the time, Tony.
I do. AEW Unrestricted, we are talking with Tony Khan, and of course, All Out is coming up this Saturday, September 5th, and that is, I like those hand gestures. Do those again.
Oh, right here and here.
Very good.
Like a flight traffic controller.
Okay, very good.
Can you tell
It's coming up on September 5th, this coming Saturday.
This weekend,
absolutely.
Yes.
And Tony, we have a lot of great matches to talk about. Let's first start talking about the Casino Battle Royale.
I'd love to. I'm really excited for the Casino Battle Royale. There's going to be some awesome participants in it. And we've seen that things have gotten out of hand lately in a major way. And we're going to see some great wrestlers in this and some of the top guys vying for a shot at the world champion, which, coming out of All Out, we'll get to what's either going to be, Jon Moxley or MJF.
Sure.
And we'll see who the champion is, but we're also going to see who a top contender will be, who's going to have a chance at the championship when we have big names like Brian Cage and Ricky Starks.
Right.
We've got Lance Archer. We've got Darby Allin. We've got Eddie Kingston, both the Lucha Brothers, Penta and Rey Fenix. We've got the Butcher and the Blade and many other big stars, and it's just gotten out of hand. And really, I think when we get into this match, you're going to see how far AEW's come in a year and a half, because from the first show, our first match we ever did on our first pay-per-view on the buy-in was the first Casino Battle Royale.
Yeah, that's right.
And the level of competition you'll see, the stars in this match, from where we were a year ago, it's really come a long way.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lot of, AEW's top wrestlers compared to, frankly, when we first did this event, there were a lot of people from outside the company who were given an opportunity to, and a lot of independent wrestlers, and a few people who really impressed and made the cut, but there were also some guys that were not maybe necessarily at the level of the top guys you're going to see, like the Lucha Brothers and the best wrestlers in the world like that. And to get Darby Allin in this match, it's huge. So, and then when we have this thing we've seen brewing, Jake the Snake and Taz, finally it's exploded last night on Dynamite, but 2 weeks ago we saw Jake and Taz really trying to keep Brian and Lance apart. We saw Darby and Ricky and their issue and how crazy things have gotten between them. So it's really going to be an awesome match, and who knows? And then there's possibilities for lots of other great wrestlers from AEW. Without spoiling all the names in it, there's going to be some fun people in this match. I'm really excited for what is to come, because I think it's a great roster.
I think it shows that, and you were talking about the first ever Casino Battle Royale that we had. It shows how deep this roster is in AEW right now, and how deep it's become over the past year. Wow, not even a year yet. We've been AEW, but still, it really is. And the winner will get a world title shot down the road.
Yes, and we'll announce when and where, and it'll be a great opportunity for that winner. And also, we'll find out by the end of the night who the champion is going to be.
Oh man, so much going on.
All right.
Crazy.
Speaking of champions, we've got Shida against Thunder Rosa for the AEW World Women's Championship. wow, what a match. Great booking there.
Boy.
That really, because I've known Thunder Rosa personally for many years. I did an autograph signing with her many years ago in Staten Island. I knew her, and I knew she was very athletic and a good wrestler, and I think it's a perfect matchup for Shida.
Thunder Rosa is great, and I hadn't really thought about reaching out and booking Thunder Rosa, and I was with Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega brought up, when we were talking contenders, he thought Thunder Rosa would be great, but she works for the NWA.
Right.
And I was, said, what, I bet we could work something out, and I bet Thunder Rosa would come and challenge for the title, and he said, if you work that out, that'd be great, and Billy did come in and say he thought it would be a great idea too, and Billy's like he said, he thinks all champions should be fighting champions. So why shouldn't their champion come in and challenge for our title? So we think Thunder Rosa is a very good wrestler, and we'll find out how Thunder Rosa and Shida stack up at All Out, and I think it's a great match. So it was a fun one to book, and I was glad to put it on the card. I think it was a good idea.
Yeah, Shida's been a good champion for us, hasn't she? She's a good person, but she's fundamentally as sound as anyone. I mean, she really is.
But this is one of the toughest challenges, and I think this is going to be one of the best Shida matches of a great reign. And, and we've had great champions, and I think Nyla Rose and Rio are great champions. Yeah. But Shida's great champion, and I think this will be one of her toughest matches.
I always said that Shida, when she gets a little fire in her, rises to the occasion, and Nyla Rose brought that out in her, and that's to me why she made it over the hump and became the AEW Women's Champion.
What a great match.
Yeah, should be a great match.
Shida is hands down one of the best wrestlers on our roster, period, regardless of, women's, men's roster, doesn't matter. Like, any match you put her in, it's automatically going to be one of the, show stealers on the card. So knowing that Thunder Rosa is the one coming in, I think I'm personally super, super excited about this.
Right before Shida won the title, her match with Britt Baker, actually, her match with Britt Baker was one of my favorite matches and of the whole pandemic, frankly, when we were shut down for a while. I thought it was one of the best matches, and it's one of the best matches we've had, really, on Dynamite. The Britt Baker and Shida, where Britt's nose got busted open. It's such a memorable match, and for her to fight through and continue on the way she did and almost win the match. And it was great, and it was one of the best performances, I think, we've had on Dynamite.
So we've got this whole thing with Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho has been going on quite a while. They're 1-on-1 in matches so far. Now we're at the rubber match, which, of course, if it's going to be this big thing, it has to be a crazy new idea out of Chris Jericho's head, the Mimosa Mayhem match.
That's true.
So how did he go about presenting this to you?
That's so funny you say that, because we had been talking, and I had kicked around this name about doing a Mimosa thing. And Chris loved it, and we kicked. But what it was, we had never said. It was just an idea that we kicked around. The idea of doing some Mimosa thing, because you've got orange and of course a little bit of the bubbly. It was a great promotional opportunity, I thought. But as for what we could do with it, I don't know. And then Chris called me one day, and I missed it. And then he texted me and was like, "I got a great idea. Call me back." And I called him, and right away he's like, "I got a great idea, man." I was like, "I bet it's a Mimosa Mayhem."
Oh, I love it.
That is exactly what it is, because Chris and I have a great working relationship. And but I didn't know what a Mimosa Mayhem match was. And that's where Chris's genius came in, and the rules that he came up with that, I think, of course, first and foremost, is a pin and submission, but also adding the element of possibility of somebody going into the tank as a way to lose. The tank of OJ and champagne, the Mimosa tank. It's going to be great.
80 gallons?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be
real sticky.
It's going to be a lot of Mimosa.
Hot in Florida,
let's explain the rules again. Pinfall, submission, or dumped into the vat of mimosa.
Yes.
Is vat the right word, or maybe
a tank? Yeah,
tank?
I think I said tank, but vat could be a word. I think it's synonyms.
Receptacle.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever you want to say. But there's going to be a lot of mimosa, and somebody's going to go into it, and it's going to be a great match. And it was a great idea, and I think it's Chris's master plan and his master idea. It's a great idea, and that'll be a lot of fun.
We've seen some great things between those two. Not only as far as what's been going on in the ring, but when you had Eric Bischoff here and you had the debate, that was great TV. Those two, Orange Cassidy and Chris Jericho, have really hit it off together as far as opponents.
They give, really, both of them so much credit. I mean, this is Orange Cassidy's biggest match to date. To be, in such a top position on a pay-per-view, it's like All Out. And it's really, in 2020, we've seen how Orange Cassidy's come such a long way. And Tony, you and I were there in Kansas City when we first put together a plan, and I was sitting in catering with you and Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, and really I told you then that based on what we went out there to do, these people are going to chant, he's going to try, he's going to try, he's going to try. And that's great storytelling that we put together, that on 3 days notice, one of the most anticipated matches on one of the best pay-per-view cards we've done, and it was a huge match with Pac and Orange Cassidy.
So great.
And the story, the way it came together, we've been laying the backstory for a long time, but if you had to be paying attention, and obviously we had just done this great Iron Man match, and Pac was very upset after losing to Kenny Omega, and for all the people, the last person you wanted to see at this point when he was so furious was Orange Cassidy, and that's why for those, it was such a great post-fight interview with you, Tony, and a great moment, and the Orange Cassidy, then later when he came back out with the Best Friends, it was just like, that was, the match he had with Pac was a star-making performance, but then, of course, he's come so far since then through the pandemic and wrestling these matches, and of course, with Chris, we've seen a whole nother level of Orange Cassidy, but give Chris a lot of credit too, because like a lot of people in wrestling have made their name in matches with Chris, and Orange Cassidy's made the most of the opportunity for sure now with a win over Chris. But Chris is one of the all-time greats, and I think to be in this position to even have a rubber match on pay-per-view with Chris shows how far Orange Cassidy's come, just to even be in this match. And it's a lot of fun because for us as a company to have somebody who was well known on the independents, but I think on the national level has become like a homegrown star.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
Orange Cassidy, like a Darby Allin, like some of the other people we'll talk about today that made their name on the independents, but to probably the majority of people watching on television, they've learned about him through AEW. It's pretty cool, and it shows Orange Cassidy has come a long way to be in this position to have a rubber match with Chris Jericho, and there's this great story that you've been such a big part of, Tony, going back even to when we were all together, all of us in the Nightmare Factory shooting the April episodes.
Right.
The April episodes.
When we shot down for the pandemic. The April we shot, when we shot the whole thing.
It ended up being like 6 weeks, didn't it? We shot.
Well, we did the live episode on the first,
okay,
and then the next day we came back and we shot the next 4 weeks.
Okay.
It could have been 6 weeks, but thankfully we were able to put together a great testing plan and come back, and it's been safe. And I was gonna shut down as long as we needed to before we had a testing plan in place, and I was guessing that was gonna take 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Thankfully it was 4,
and
we didn't have to stretch those tapes out longer. But they were great as they were, and I'm still so proud of what we did. And you and Chris were so great on commentary, but it became clear then that Chris really can't stand Orange Cassidy. And it was fun on commentary with you comparing, and it's always fun working with you on commentary, Tony, with you comparing Orange Cassidy to the great managers, to Bobby Heenan and
Bobby Heenan and Lou Albano and JJ Dillon,
Jimmy Hart,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great television, and then Orange Cassidy's transition from being this great manager, and that was really the idea of Orange Cassidy coming in as a manager. The first person who suggested it to me was Matt Jackson, and I didn't know Orange Cassidy that well yet. And then the more I got to know him and work with him, I think everyone who works here knows, we work really closely together. And then I do a lot of this work on his matches with the terms of the production and making sure that we do a good job building up the stories. And then I really, for him, something was so key. And then even, Tony sitting with you guys and laying out, telling you that the people are going to chant, he's going to try, he's going to try. That's what was meant to happen, and it worked. And I sensed some doubt in the room, but I was like, no, this is going to work. And we've been building up to it for a long time, and I just think that it was one of those things. There was a great vision on Matt Jackson's part to bring that up, because I didn't really know Orange Cassidy, and then later getting to know him and talk to him about what he was going to do, and even encouraging him, frankly, to kind of hold back at first, because there's a chance to really break out next year as a big star. I think he's been a breakout star, and this would be the biggest match he's ever been in, but it's also a big match for Chris.
Sure.
And Chris has put a lot of time into this story and to bring in Eric Bischoff, as you said, for the debate.
So great.
And to wrestle the great matches they've had. I think this is going to be one of the best matches on the show.
Okay.
So you had mentioned Matt Jackson, and yesterday I was reminded that the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express won their tag match, and now they're facing each other at the pay-per-view this Saturday. Everything's kind of going on with the Elite right now. It's very interesting seeing how all this is breaking down.
It's great.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's a great match. I mean, first and foremost, I'm excited to see the match between the Young Bucks and the Jurassic Express, and I think it's a barn burner match. They're both ranked in the top 5, and it's kind of an eliminator because one of these teams will come out, and we've got a tag title match later with Kenny and Hangman versus FTR.
Yes.
And then right outside the top contenders, FTR, 2 of the top teams are, of course, Young Bucks and Jurassic Express. So this is a title eliminator in the top 5. So it's a huge match in AEW with huge implications of who'd be in line to challenge the winner of Kenny and Hangman versus FTR, the champs and the number 1 contenders. And I think this will be a huge match. And it's also just 2 of the fastest paced and most fun and exciting and popular teams in AEW. So it should be a really fun match.
I always like getting teams that are kind of booked in the same areas on the indies. They're all kind of the Southern California boys. But all those guys that get to work together so much that when you finally put them in a TV setting, you just have all of that crispness that comes from knowing each other's styles. And hands down, this match is going to be great just because the guys are all familiar enough with each other.
And the 6-man we did was also excellent. They had worked together in the 6-man, and we saw a preview of how good this could be.
I had no idea Canadian Destroyers could be that crazy. I don't think anyone did.
We're talking with Tony Khan. We're talking about the card coming up for this Saturday at All Out, and we're going to dive into the card even more.
This is AEW Unrestricted. We're talking to Tony Khan about All Out this weekend, 8 o'clock, Fight TV, BR Live, pay-per-view. You can find it all the places. You should have already bought it by now, but if you haven't, do it. We're talking about the card. We've already covered half of the awesome matches on the main card here, but the next one we've got coming up, the Broken Rules match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. I saw it firsthand. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of animosity. There's a lot of just they've done a crazy amount of crap to each other.
Yeah, it's been really, since Matt Hardy's debut, Sammy has been, since Matt first stepped into the ring, has been his foil, I think, along with Chris Jericho. And with Sammy, really, immediately, the rivalry got very intense. The first time Matt stepped in the ring, Sammy came out from under the ring and jumped him on March 25th. And then, of course, we built to their street fight before the Stadium Stampede was the first time Matt hit Sammy with a golf cart.
That iconic shot of Sammy just spinning in midair.
It's one of the best things we've ever done on Dynamite, that match. Between that moment with the golf cart and Kenny coming off the scissor lift and of course, Matt and Kenny, that was so great. And it was Matt's first match ever in AEW. And the moment with the Inner Circle standing there foreshadowing the Stadium Stampede and scoreboard. It was such a great ending. It's one of my favorite ever endings on Dynamite. Yeah. And it was such a great episode. And then to build up to the Stadium Stampede is one of the greatest things we've ever done as a company. And Matt and Sammy were together and individually such a huge part of the match. And then coming back, their rivalry is just this whole summer. It's been one of the best things on AEW television, and they've had great matches. They've been involved in great stuff, and now this, they've had great brawls, great segments, things that weren't even matches.
They've broken a whole lot of furniture.
Yeah, tables and chairs, and these guys have just beaten the hell out of each other. And I think that this match will be the perfect way to bring that all together, and hopefully bring this thing to some kind of conclusion, because these guys have just been destroying each other, and this match is intended to be kind of putting them in an area where they can settle their differences finally. After this tables match, Matt's still standing, and they've come out and they're doing this match that will be effectively, we'll see the last man standing, will be the winner, will go to a 10 count, and it'll be the last man up. We'll have to have a winner. There's no disqualifications. There's no countouts, obviously, because falls will count anywhere, but it's not truly falls. It's being counted out for 10, knocked out, put down, and I think it's going to be a crazy match. And when you see all this stuff, and you've seen all the ridiculous, the tables, the chairs, and all the insane high spots that we've had with these guys, it's going to be a fantastic match. But then on top of all that, it's not just this last man standing element that will make this such an exciting match. It's that Matt has said he will leave if he loses, which I guess is what's broken about the rules of this match. Is it's not a true last man standing, loser leaves town match, because Matt himself has said he'll walk if he loses. And Sammy said he wanted him out of his life, and I think it'll be a lot of drama here. And obviously, the last thing anybody wants to see is Matt Hardy out of AEW. He said, he might leave and go back to what he was doing before he came here. And I hope that's not the case. And hopefully, Matt will still be with us. But no matter how it goes, it'll be a great match. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, some interesting elements in this match, especially when you think about, and you mentioned it, the table and what happened to Sammy and the chair going through the air and hitting Matt, and it's been a very physical, if I can use this term, very violent type of matches that they've had so far. So, yeah, this is going to just ratchet that up a great deal.
I didn't think I could get more violent, but it absolutely can.
This is going to be, after everything they've done to each other, it'll be hard to take it to another level, but I'm pretty confident they're going to.
100% confident they will. They'll find a way.
8-man tag team match, the Dark Order will take on the Natural Nightmares, Matt Cardona and Scorpio Sky. And that's a very interesting matchup, putting Scorpio Sky and Matt Cardona together with the Natural Nightmares.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, that's how it came out. I think when these are the guys that stuck up for the Rhodes family after what happened, and we saw the whole Rhodes family really get beaten down with, Cody and Dustin Rhodes and Brandi Rhodes getting all, really kicked down by the Dark Order after the TNT Championship match. And of course, Tony, you were there firsthand to witness it.
It was right on the stage,
and you saw the whole thing take place, and it's really a sad situation. And Cody was such a great fighting champion to make, I think, 9 defenses of the title. And I think he had been through so many matches and maybe burned himself out too quickly to fight probably his hardest opponent yet. Almost certainly his hardest opponent yet.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely, I think we saw it was by far the hardest opponent he had. And came at a bad time after he'd wrestled all these long matches against all these great wrestlers, including the aforementioned Scorpio Sky, who I think we saw they had this great match and really had a great moment afterwards where it felt like we elevated Scorpio Sky to say he's can hang with anybody. He's one of the top wrestlers here. He's been a tag champion, but he can also be a great singles wrestler.
Right.
And then I think he, obviously taken offense to what the Dark Order did and made a stand. And then Matt Cardona wasn't here when Cody got jumped, but Matt Cardona also ran in with Dustin and QT. So that was pretty cool to see all those guys come in. And it's going to be a great match. And with the Dark Order, they've been on a real roll. Ever since really Colt Cabana joined, the Dark Order's been on a roll, winning big matches. We saw they've been on a roll. Colt's won a lot of matches. They won a 12-man against the Elite and FTR, which is insane.
That's right.
That's right, they did.
It's pretty unusual to see all those guys drop. And of course, with Brodie pinning Hangman, we hadn't seen Hangman drop a fall all year in AEW. And that was pretty shocking to see. And then, of course, Brodie, in quick fashion, becoming the TNT champion. The Dark Order's on a real roll. Brodie Lee, especially, is a great role and has a great chance to be a great champion here. But before we'll find out how great a champion is, I think we're going to see Brodie Lee firsthand, what he can do with all these great possible contenders in front of him, because there's a lot of people who could be great contenders to the TNT title. And obviously, I think Scorpio Sky, we've seen, he's great, and I know Dustin Rhodes would like to bring the TNT title back to the Rhodes family.
Right.
So it'll be a great match, and of course the whole story about Colt joining the Dark Order, I think really it's just been something nobody expected, but it's been very effective.
Right. I'm really excited about seeing Matt Cardona wrestle in AEW. I really am, because he's a first-class guy, number one. He looks great, and he does some great things in the ring. I think it's been a great sign for him.
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he's come in and he's been a free agent. He came in on a kind of a short-term basis, and so far he's been really well received. And I'm excited to see how he does here in this match. But it's his first pay-per-view match with us.
True.
And he's been great, so I'm excited to see how he does.
Yeah, and Scorpio Sky, I just love him. I really do. I just think
the best.
He's like, and I love him with SCU in a tag team scenario, but as a singles wrestler, I think he's a great ad for this match.
Well, you're the one who always says you can't be a great tag wrestler without being a great singles
wrestler first, right?
Yeah. And Scorpio Sky is, I think, a great example of that. And we've seen, they were the first tag champs, Scorpio Sky and Kazarian, and they had a great run. But of course, Scorpio Sky in the tag team tournament won 3 consecutive matches. Scorpio Sky against Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara was one of the first person ever in AEW to pin Chris
roll
Jericho.
up.
He was the first person in AEW to pin Chris Jericho, and had a great singles match with Chris Jericho. And we've seen Scorpio Sky hang on with all the best people. So I think you're onto something there. I think he's one of the best people here.
Yeah, I agree. All right, World Tag Team title.
Oh boy.
And this has really got a lot of people intrigued for many reasons, especially what's going on with the Elite, but especially the fact that FTR has arrived here and made such a profound impact. I mean, it is going to be, and I go back to Revolution, saying that was the best tag team match I've ever seen. This one has a chance to be even better. It really does.
Absolutely.
It's not saying anything about who participated in the one in Revolution, but this one has a chance to be tremendous.
Well, it's hard. It's going to be hard to top the greatest tag team match in the history of pay-per-views.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think if we can, if there's ever been a match where they could, it would be this one. I think it's going to be a classic, and I'm really excited. I think Kenny and Hangman's run as champions has been something really special when you look at all the great matches they've had and all the teams they beat through this year, and they defended against everybody. And if they can win this, I think the winner of the Young Bucks Jurassic Express match would be in line. I think that could be really interesting. I think,
we could even see a rematch from what we saw at Revolution.
We sure could.
Wow.
Yeah. Down the road. Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of other great teams. I mean, if, we'll see what happens with the Dark Order and, Dustin and QT in that match, but there's great teams there with the Dark Order and the Natural Nightmares. So there's a lot of great teams fighting on the pay-per-view, and I think whoever wins this match will have great challengers in front of them, but also will have fought the toughest challenger out there, because I think we've got the two top tag teams in the world right now in terms of what they've done this year in 2020 with Kenny and Hangman and FTR, who are undefeated.
Right. Yeah.
I just love how tag team wrestling looks in AEW. Like, we talk about the Young Bucks and Jurassic Express being these high flyers, and it's going to be this really athletic feat, and then we see FTR and Hangman and Kenny, which is this vast contrast of styles. Like, you've got these two matches on the card. One's for a title, but like both of them are just going to be so vastly different. And it's fascinating, and it's so great to see all of the differences that we have across all of our talent and across this card. And oh my God, I'm so excited for this
even
show.
look within Eddie Kingston has been working with these two teams that could also be great contenders for the winners of Kenny and Hangman versus FTR in the title match. You got the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers, also great teams who are totally opposite teams. And so there's a lot of great teams out there for the champion. And to me, I think we're going to see a great match.
Yeah. I don't even think it's a think. I think we all know we're going to see a good match.
I'd be shocked if we didn't, and I can't wait to see who comes out as the champions. But I know that it's going to be one of the best matches on the show.
So, coming down to it, very, very end, main event, we've got Jon Moxley versus Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I know he's been running his mouth like he always does, this whole political campaign bullshit, being the asshole that he is. But this match, I think, is something very special because Jon Moxley has done an incredible amount in his career for what he's done for being a champion for our company, but also just seeing where Max is now in his career and where he's going. This is going to be a really excellent match.
I agree. I'm really excited. I think this is one of the biggest matches in the history of AEW, and we're saving the biggest for last because this match is huge, and we've seen it's taken a more serious tone. Jon Moxley may have gotten the last laugh on the lawyer, Mark Sterling, but MJF and Wardlow put some real heat on him going into this match, and I think it's going to be a really, really fun night. But this match will be anything but. I think this is going to be, frankly, there could be a great wrestling match because both men are great wrestlers. Sure. But if it goes outside, I think Jon Moxley is going to have the advantage as long as Wardlow doesn't get involved. And inside the ring, I mean, MJF's proven he's a great wrestler. He hasn't lost all year. Neither one of these men has been defeated in AEW. Neither one of these men has been pinned. They both, the only time anybody's even gotten to either guy was in a tag match or in some kind of multi-man situation, but neither guy has ever been pinned or beaten in any way in AEW individually. Yeah. So it's kind of been building up, and you don't see that in wrestling that often when guys have been building up for over a year undefeated on a roll like this, when the champion comes in and the challenger comes in and you have no idea what's going to happen. And I think, frankly, for everyone backstage, people have no idea what's going to happen, and that's usually a good sign going into the pay-per-view when even the experts around the ring don't even know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's pretty good. that's how hot this thing's gotten. And MJF's as good a number one contender as we've had, and his record shows that because he's been at it for a year and a half here almost, and for in the 15 plus months we've been in business, MJF's, when we talk about homegrown stars, we talk about Orange Cassidy. Well, that goes even more so, frankly, for MJF, the number one contender, who has set the best record, and we have all these big stars. And so you can't deny that the number one contender, he's made a name for himself in a major way in the last year, and he's become a huge name in the world of wrestling. And I think, again, if you were a big fan of wrestling, all of us a couple years ago, we all knew MJF. But I don't think, before AEW, I don't think the average person flipping by on TV necessarily would have known MJF. And now he's moving towards that next level, and winning the championship would really put him there. This is, again, like we've said, talking about other people on the show, this is the biggest match of his career, but this also could be the big turning point in his career and a turning point for the company. And John's been one of the most important people in AEW history. John, his debut at the inaugural Double or Nothing in Vegas, the MGM Grand, I still think is, for our pay-per-views, that's the best pay-per-view ending we've ever done, and I think it's one of the greatest moments in the history of the company. And then John's whole reign, to me, it's crazy because John won the title right before the pandemic, in the shutdown. But through the shutdown, John's been a great champion. He's come here and he's really, people can't deny the great stuff John's done in this pandemic and some of the great matches he's had. And I think at our last pay-per-view, he had one of our best matches we've ever had with Brodie Lee. And Brodie Lee now is the TNT champion, and the only person who's ever come, he choked him out to beat him. He didn't,
that's right.
That was the only person who's ever gotten to Brodie Lee, the only person who's even come close to getting to Brodie Lee. And that's the kind of great champion John's been. And we'll see this match. I'm really excited about.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, Moxley did an interview, and you could tell that he respected MJF. That we all know what kind of jerk he can be, but you could tell the way he was talking during that, he really respected this kid. So I think even though there's a lot of talk and a lot of bluster, he really respects what MJF can do in the ring. And that always, to me, makes for a good match if they respect each other.
Yeah.
Now, whether MJF respects him or not, I don't know if MJF respects anybody. But
I don't think he does.
But still, I just think it's all the earmarks of.
I mean, you can't. If you follow wrestling, I think everybody in the business, in the entire business, knows MJF, respects MJF at this point. He's made that kind of name for himself, and this is his chance to really break through and become the biggest star in the wrestling business. You saw Jon Moxley was ranked by Pro Wrestling Illustrated as the number one wrestler in the world.
Number one.
That just came out this past week and is hitting the shelves, and it's pretty cool. And I think John is a student of wrestling, and John knew how cool that was, and it was very cool for me to be able to break that to John and go to him and really be able to go and tell him, like, hey, I just want to let you know you're number one in the PWI 500, and that meant a lot to him.
You were the one that told him?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was the one that told him. And it was nice to be able to do that, and I really enjoy working with John. I've always enjoyed working with John. I don't enjoy working with Max as much, but I do work with Max very closely.
We all put up with him.
Max is a genius, and they both are. They're both absolute geniuses in terms of wrestling presentation, and I think that's why John, as a student of wrestling, does respect Max, because Max is a great wrestler. Max is a great head for wrestling. Max is a great interview. Max brings pretty much all you want from a Major League Pro wrestler, and the fact is Max is a very, very, very young man in his early 20s, and is poised to be a big star in the world of wrestling for a long time. And I think for us, for this company, if we have him as our champion, I mean, it's going to be this guy's the future. And John, on the other hand, right now is like the number one guy in the business. So it's like the dream match when you have two guys undefeated going into it. And nobody knows what's going to happen, including the two of you.
Yes.
I have no idea.
That's the way I like it. Absolutely.
I know what everyone else
it's
says.
this Saturday, September 5th. This Saturday is All Out, and it's exclusively on pay-per-view. And Tony, we don't want you to get away without talking about your Fulham FC. And
yes, please. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your enthusiasm for everything that you do is
Yeah, for those that are watching the video, he's been decked out in gear ever since they got promoted again.
You're the general manager of the team, and so you put together the team, and this has to be personally just a satisfying thing for you. What's going on?
Thank you, Tony. I mean, you follow sports really closely and broadcasted many different sports, and obviously, in addition to being one of the greatest wrestling broadcasters of all time and a student of wrestling, you're a student of football and of baseball and of broadcasting. But as far as European football and as far as Fulham, you've always been really nice, and of course Aubrey has followed Fulham and supported Fulham all year and watched the matches, and it means a lot coming from both of you and Tone. Thank you for saying that. And as the GM and sporting director and working with the players and putting a squad together and working with the players and the contracts and negotiating all the transfers through the last several years, there's been ups and downs, but this is one of the great moments of my life. This victory, and now we get thrust into the Premier League with a very short off season, as a result of the shutdown, because we were shut down for a while. So we ended the season late. So now, unfortunately, it's a very short break. And in terms of working on the squad, haven't had as much time, and also it's just been really a fun thing, and I appreciate you acknowledging it. But it's also been a hectic thing in my life, but everybody's been there for me. It was a crazy moment. The semifinal, to get into the final, you guys were there with me. I haven't been able to go because of the quarantine, so you guys have been there for a lot of it with me, as I haven't been able to travel. And I'm really grateful for it, and thanks for bringing it up, because it's been a great thing for me.
Short turnaround's not bad. Play while you're hot.
Yeah,
right? That's it. I think that there's something to that, because we're on a great run, and believe me, we said that we got very hot in this shutdown, and there were 2 games a week in the comeback format after we restarted the league, and really when we got hot, it played into our favor because we got a great run. So I'm absolutely ready to go, and thanks again for bringing it up.
Well, thanks for all you do for us and all you've done for wrestling, and it means a lot to us, and we're going to be talking to you again because we've got a great future. We really do.
Well, it means a lot for me to be here with you guys, and to run down the pay-per-view card with both of you means a lot, and it's
like a tradition now at this point.
It's become a tradition, and Aubrey, you've become such a huge part of AEW, such a huge part of Dynamite and our shows, and you're one of the great referees in wrestling, and thank you, and a great host, and I appreciate you very much. And Tony, it's a dream for me to do this with you. You've been on the first wrestling pay-per-views I ever watched, and you're one of my favorite announcers, and it's a dream to sit with you and do this every week.
It scares me sometimes because you remember all my lines from years past. I'm thinking, oh boy.
But it's fun working with you, and it's fun working with somebody who knows your stuff, and I think it helps our product, because I feel like I'm a good... and I'm not in your ear 24 hours a day, and I'm not working through the whole show in your ear, but I feel like when I do have insights for you, I know I know how to talk to you in your own voice.
Right.
You know everyone's strengths, and you know how to bring the best out of us.
You have rekindled my love for the sport of wrestling. I can tell you that.
Oh, man.
You really have. Okay, check out AEW Dynamite Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central on TNT. Don't forget, we have All Out coming up this Saturday. 8
o'clock on pay-per-view. You can get on BR Live. You can get on the Fight TV app. You can get it, please. It's going to be an amazing, amazing show. Our pay-per-views always knock it out of the park. You know you're not going to be disappointed with this. Subscribe to AEW Unrestricted Podcast for free wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to watch our video episodes on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on the TNT YouTube channel. To see the video version, go to tntdrama.com/all-elite-wrestling/unrestricted podcast.
Yeah, and then there you can also submit questions to future guests we have. We'll be sure to ask them. That's one of the cool things we've been doing recently. So, yeah, this was fun.
All right, I'm Tony Schiavone. Tony, thanks, buddy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you both for having me.
Thank you so much.